Russ. He's listening in Massachusetts on WVNE. Hi, Russ.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I had a question about Christ on earth as fully God and man.
Mm-hmm.
And we know he was tempted, as all of us, and did not sin.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, when he went to the cross, he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Now, I wanted to know, did he have the full choice at any time? Could he have sinned, or as being God, not sin? And the choice on the cross, could he have brought down judgment and all the angels of heaven and condemned earth and mankind at that time?
Well, remember that Jesus voluntarily laid aside the independent use of his divine prerogatives. But nonetheless, while he humbled himself, taking on the nature of a servant, he was fully divine. But he acted and operated on the basis of the will of his heavenly Father. But yes,
Well,
Jesus Christ was fully God, and we see him even in the resurrection by his own power laying down his life, and by his own power taking up his life again, thus demonstrating that he's God in human flesh.
so he was ordained to do that from the beginning and fulfilled that, but did he have the free choice? I'm saying at the cross, could he have ended it right there?
Jesus could have done anything that he wanted to do because Jesus Christ is God. But remember, when we say Jesus Christ is God, the biblical teaching with respect to God is one God, revealed in three persons who are eternally distinct. So there's a loving relationship within the Godhead. The Father sends the Son sends the Counselor, the Son prays to the Father. There are loving relationships and volitions that are acting within the Godhead, choosing what will be and who will act. So the Father sends the Son, and the Son voluntarily limits the prerogative of divinity, taking on the limitations of humanity, and therefore he acts at the will of the Father, but nonetheless is fully God, and therefore, as God, can do what God can do, which is anything that is consistent with his nature. But what is inconsistent with his nature is to violate the loving relationship that he has with the Father and the plan that they have ordained from before the foundations of the world.
Okay, so this was preordained, and he was...
Well, preordained not in a fatalistically determinative sense. I mean, the fact that God knows what's going to happen does not either philosophically or biblically dictate that God fatalistically determines what is going to happen. Just as you can know in the rearview mirror what you have done in your life, that does not presuppose that what you have done, or better yet, what you have seen done in the lives of others, is something that you caused. You can look back at something that happened and have complete knowledge of it without having caused it. In God's case, he can look not only backwards, but forwards. So he can know what is going to happen with complete integrity and precision without it being fatalistically determined.
So when he hung on the cross and his Father, why have you abandoned me? When God looked at him as total sin for us, he knew that in advance?
Well, first of all, the notion that God abandoned him is incorrect.
Okay.
In fact, the very words that Jesus Christ appeals to are from Psalm 22, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? But if you read the entirety of Psalm 22, you see in verse 24 that God had not forsaken his beloved one. Not only that, you see something far more significant and that is that Jesus Christ is not sin. A
No.
metonome is being used here. He is the sin offering, which is to
Right.
say that,
Sacrificial lamb. Yeah.
yeah, he is unblemished, and therefore, even in his sacrifice, he's an unblemished, sweet savor unto God. So he is the sin bearer, but he himself is not sin.
Right.
So, had he become sin in any sense, in other words, had he fallen or fantasized for a moment about any temptation, then he could not have been the unblemished God man. So you have to remember this is one person with two natures, 100% human and 100% divine, and you cannot separate the natures. Such that we can say that Jesus Christ could be tempted as we are tempted, but that he could not sin. To
Okay.
have a human nature does not presuppose a sin nature. It does for us, but it doesn't for Jesus. Adam and Eve had genuinely distinct human natures, and yet they were without sin. God had created them with the potential for sin, but they had to actualize that sin by their volitions.
I see. So there's no 50-50 with Christ. He's 100% both ways.
Yes, 100% God, 100% man. We're going to have to leave it at that, Russ. Great question and an important question. Virtually every single theological heresy begins with a misconception of the nature of God. And therefore, while we don't want to get stuck in a linguistic hall of mirrors or in our own psycho-epistemological cocoon, because words need explaining. And so it's good to talk through these things because we recognize that the words are necessary, but they do not approach the mystery and the majesty of the God about whom we speak. Yet the words are important because God has condescended to reveal himself in such a way that we can, with our finite, limited resources, have some apprehension of him. We'll be right back.